Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Not Overthinking. Taimur, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's been a morning of lots of chores. We'd ordered some bunch of furniture over the past week or two, and it comes in these massive cardboard boxes. And it's not just that you have to flatten the cardboard boxes, you also then have to cut them down in size so that they can fit inside the stupid recycling bins. And so I spent about half an hour, like, with my Naruto letter opener knife, like cutting down these cardboard boxes to fit in the recycling bin. And then we had to go to Quick Fit to get a tire replacement for the car, which I'm going to have to fit after this call. Um, yeah, mate, lots of chores today, lots of chores. How about you?
Yeah, man, things are pretty good. Things are picking up. I think for the
What's
last
picking
couple
up?
of weeks, I've been very things haven't been the best in terms of feeling optimistic about the book, but now I'm
Okay,
feeling
yeah.
much more optimistic about the book. And yeah, we've just
What's
launched.
changed?
What's changed? I've now I've now decided that I'm probably going to go with a literary agent, and so I've been speaking to a few and shortlisting a few, and that like feels like a load off my shoulders. And I think we have also got another kind of framing of the book that might work nicely.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah,
feel like you're making some progress.
feel like yeah, it feels like kind of last week. Oh, it feels like maybe 2 weeks ago was like the all is lost moment, and now it's like oh okay cool, now it's all picking up.
You certainly didn't present it as an all is lost moment last week or two
Did I
weeks
not?
ago. No, you were like, oh man, I'm really relieved. I think relieved was the term you used. Or maybe
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
just
I'm saying all is lost moment as in, it's like a standard part of like any kind of storytelling narrative where it's the work you've done until this point is awful, and now so that's like the all is lost moment, and now it's like we're
I
rebuilding from
see.
the ground up, and it feels good.
Got it. Wakata. Um, that sounds good.
Yes. Before we continue, we should talk about something very special, which is that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by none other than Skillshare. Taimur, take it away.
Why, can you do it?
Come on, man. I'm in the middle of eating. In the middle
All
of
right.
eating my heel.
Is that what you're eating?
Mm.
Oh God.
Anyway, this episode is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare, if you haven't heard by now, if you've been living under a rock, is an online platform with thousands of educational classes in all sorts of areas, from graphic design and illustration to cooking and interior design and business and productivity and entrepreneurship and all this cool stuff. If you go to skillshare.com/, not overthinking pod, or hit the link in the show notes or in the video description, and if you're one of the first 1,000 people to do that, then you will get a free trial to Skillshare. And during your free trial, you can watch all 7 of my classes on Skillshare. I've got 2 about productivity. I've got 2 about how to study for exams effectively, 1 about how to be happier by taking lessons from Stoicism, and then 1 about how to cook productively, which I'm a bit embarrassed by, which we shouldn't talk about. Beyond that, there's like dozens, I don't want to say dozens, like actually thousands of other classes on Skillshare. So head over to skillshare.com/, not overthinking pod to get your free trial.
Awesome. That was a really good ad read.
Thank you.
Mate, I've been listening to like all these other podcasts seem to have freaking, four ad reads one after the other at the start of the thing. Like, what's up with that? Like, it just
Yeah, I think we're under monetizing. If you're keen on that, I can ask I can ask our agents to hook us
I
up with a double ad
I,
read.
I mean, I'm curious as to like because I know that the first 7 minutes of every Tim Ferriss episode is going to be ads. I know that basically the first 7 minutes of like all of these kind of podcasts is going to be ads, and I just like skipped to 7 minutes in. Like I'm really curious how these ads are converting for the advertisers when it's like this massive thing at the start of an episode.
Yeah, they seem to be converting. Like the reason advertisers continue them is because they convert reasonably well.
Right, yeah,
So
it must be working, but like,
it must be working very well for them. I was looking at some of our data from these ads. Like I think both our Skillshare and our Brilliant ad reads are performing reasonably well. At least they were kind of middle of last year, which is when I was looking at the data for.
interesting. Yeah, maybe we can. Yeah, I mean, I'm not super fussed to be honest.
In other
Yeah,
exciting news,
just curiosity.
so so last week we were talking about this thread on Tuttle.
Yes.
So that at the time it was 7 pages long. Now it's 9 pages long because people have realized that we posted this on the podcast YouTube channel. By the way, if you don't realize, we have a podcast YouTube channel now where we have video versions of these podcasts. So check it out. Link in the show notes. And someone's posted a link saying he says the ones that did make him feel something, or comments on his ability as a doctor based on his YouTube content and comments from old patients of his, made him think about real life repercussions of his social media presence.
Yeah, so just to recap for people who didn't listen last week, at the end of last week's episode, Ali read out a bunch of that. There is a website called Tattle, an online forum where people basically gossip about, celebrities and influencers and things like that. And there was a 7-page thread about Ali where people were broadly posting mean comments. There's a YouTube clip from last week's episode, which you can check out if you missed it, with just the mean comment section. But it looks like there's been some developments since.
All right. So we have a comment saying, his brother came across as really kind, which I think he did. I'm curious what brought Ali to the thread and encouraged him to discuss it in a video. Ali, if you're reading, none of us know you in real life. This thread isn't gospel, it's gossip and opinions. You're the authority on yourself. If you're affected by reading here, then please don't do so. People are saying that this is quite a tame thread, all things considered.
Sounds more like an Ali thread, to be honest.
Everything in his life has to be productive. How is that healthy or unproblematic? He's doing exactly the same as other influencers by promoting something that is so unobtainable. Sometimes it's okay not to do anything and simply enjoy life's small pleasures, like having a piss without taking your iPad with you in the guise of being productive. What the fuck is a productive Valentine's Day? His ads are also becoming worse.
Are we going to read all the comments? Like, what? Surely not.
I'm just thinking if there's any particularly mean ones. Yo, his brother is pretty cute.
I'll take that. It seems like a couple of the newer comments on the thread are trying to like reassure you that it's okay or something. Like they're kind of like, Ali, don't listen to these comments or something. And I think I thought it was interesting that a lot of the YouTube comments on last week's episode and on the clip from last week's episode where we just talked about the mean comments, it seems like most of them are trying to reassure you and say like, "Oh, Ali, don't listen to the haters, Ali. I think you're really inspirational," and all of this kind of stuff. And I thought that was really interesting, and I wanted to sort of kick off this episode by talking a little bit about that phenomenon. And actually, I was having sort of like a phone call with a couple of friends 2 days ago or something, and while we were catching up, one of them kind of told us about something bad that recently happened to him or something, and the other friend's response to this was similar to the YouTube comments of like, "Oh, don't worry about it, just be patient, that kind of thing." And yeah, with these friends, we then had a chat about like, why are you saying that, basically. And I'm curious, like, what do you think when people comment on like the YouTube video saying like, "Oh, Ali, we love you, Ali, don't listen to the haters, like they're just jealous," all this kind of stuff?
I think it's just people being nice and genuinely feeling that way. For example, I have watched videos of YouTubers that I like and YouTubers that I'm friends with where they talk about mean comments that they've got, and I feel like a feeling of feeling compelled to comment something just to be like, screw the haters, mate. And I think it's similar to, I feel it's like if someone, a YouTuber friend of mine posted a video a few months ago about how he's got cancer and talking about his struggles with that. And there was like an outpouring of love and support being like, "Oh my God, this is so terrible. You're such a great guy. I hope you get through it. We're here for you." That kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's just like a generally nice thing to do. I don't think there's anything particularly, I don't know, nefarious about it. Or I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. I feel like this is just decent, like human decency. If someone is feeling bad about something, you try and reassure them that it's going to be okay. Like the equivalent of Sheldon Cooper saying there and patting the shoulder.
I'm not trying to say there's anything nefarious, to be clear. I didn't make any
No,
suggestion
of
like that.
course, I agree.
Uh, so if something bad happens to one of your friends,
Hmm.
like what's like your response? How do you react in those situations?
Recently, I would feel like, oh, I'm so sorry, that kind of thing. That sounds really hard. You know, the usual, just being nice to someone and saying that you're there for them type thing. If you need anything, give me a shout, or you know, it obviously depends on the context, depends on what the bad thing is, and whether I can whether this person is close enough to warrant something more active in terms of outreach. But generally, it's like I'm really sorry. It's like if someone has a death in the family, like it's just polite to be like, oh, I'm really sorry. You guys must be going through a tough time, etc., etc. I think that's kind of the equivalent of what's going on here. People are feeling, yeah, wanting to show support, which is kind of nice.
So when you read those comments, you feel kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah, it feels good to read those comments.
Wow.
I said
Okay.
it. On
We've made some
Netflix, I
progress.
said that shit.
Where's that from? It's like
Kevin Hart's
Kevin
Netflix
Hart?
special.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I said it. Black woman? Okay, no.
Dude.
I was doing a bit there. I'm doing Kevin Hart. Was it Chris Rock? Kevin Hart? Who knows?
I think it's probably Chris. I mean, Chris Rock has lots of bits about black women more so than I think Kevin Hart does.
Okay. Apologies to Kevin.
Okay, that is interesting. Okay, I think it's worth separating different things here. So I think there's certainly some things which are just like matters of etiquette, like if someone has a death in the family, even though you have nothing to really apologize for, it is polite to say I'm sorry or I'm sorry to hear that, that kind of stuff. I think there's matters of pure etiquette, which I think that comes under also like saying hello to someone when you see them. These are just sort of matters of pure etiquette. And then I think there's a bunch of stuff that falls outside of that where someone is kind of making the choice to say some stuff. And so like a common thing, you know if a friend is sort of breaks up with their romantic partner, then people will typically say, oh, there's yeah, don't worry about it. You'll find someone else, plenty more fish in the sea, all of this kind of stuff. And I think that falls outside of the realm of just pure etiquette. And that's like an intentional thing that someone is saying. So I think I disagree with you when you characterize these YouTube comments as like pure etiquette in the same way that saying I'm sorry is etiquette when there's a death.
I'm
I
not.
don't
I
think
don't think.
it's that.
Yeah, I agree. It's not quite. It goes slightly beyond the etiquette. More of a like. There's no social etiquette here. Like, if I was saying it to someone in real life, it would be social etiquette. Would be like, oh, I'm really sorry. Don't listen to the haters. Like, that's just. Do you agree that that would be social etiquette rather than just I'm really sorry?
Sorry, okay, let's set up the situation a bit more precisely.
So I say to someone in real life that, hey, so I saw some mean comments about me on the internet and it made me feel bad.
Okay.
It would be social etiquette for that person to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, don't worry about it. You've got all these good comments as well, and you make such a big impact on people. And obviously, there's going to be some haters.
Okay,
Like,
no, no. Okay, got it. I understand. I did. Look,
I'm
I
I'm
think
saying
I'm
in real
sorry to hear
life,
that.
I'm saying in real life that's social etiquette. Saying, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, would be considered rude if if not elaborated on in that context in a one-to-one situation.
Okay, I agree. It would be weird to just say I'm sorry to hear that
Hmm.
and then move on to the weather or something. I agree that
Hmm.
would be weird. But I think there is a spectrum of elaboration that can occur,
Okay.
and there are choices that people make as to what that looks like. I agree, if you say that to someone, I agree that they are basically obliged to say, I'm sorry to hear that, or maybe how are you feeling? basically that much. But then whatever route they decide to go down in terms of elaborating on it, I think comes down to choice, and that's really what I'm trying to get at here. So I think, so one possible route, right, to elaborate is to then go down this angle, which I think a lot of the YouTube comments did, and which you just did in your example as well, where you then try and um, yeah, I guess try and negate the mean comments and say, oh, there's lots of, there's lots of good comments about you as well, and I think you're X, Y, and Z. That is one of many possible routes of elaboration. Um, are you personally inclined to go down that route when you're sort of talking to your own friends? Like if something bad happens to them, you will like try and convince them.
No.
Okay, got it. Also, I've started to really hate the way I talk.
Okay. I'm really sorry to hear that. For the record, lots of people love the way you talk, and especially love your laugh. And we've had some YouTube comments on the last one saying that your laugh should be turned into its own meme. Why do you feel that way?
I think I just talk in a really obtuse way. I think I don't know, like
What does obtuse mean?
exactly. Oh,
Are we talking about the angle? Is that a thing? Obtuse angles? You're the mathematician.
that is a thing in maths, yeah. But like, yeah, I don't know. Whenever I hear myself talk, especially on the podcast, I think I make an effort to just be really precise with my language, and I think it just sounds stupid, mate. Roots of elaboration? What the hell am I talking about? Why is that how I phrased it? What a ridiculous way to phrase that. Why is that what comes to my mind when I'm trying to have this conversation?
What you're trying to say is people can respond differently depending on who they are. And one way of responding is X, and there might be another way of responding, but because you're a Twitter think boy, you have decided to go down, you've decided to call it roots of elaboration.
It's not a decision, right? You don't choose what words come out of your mouth. They just come out of your mouth. And increasingly, I'm
mean,
finding the words that come out of my mouth to be pretty annoying.
I don't know. I'm not sure there's anything wrong with roots of elaboration.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. It just sounds a bit obtuse to me. Anyway, let's go back to them. Let's go back to the.
Because you're thinking of it in terms of like a decision tree almost. Or in terms of you go so far and then there is literally like different roads that you could go down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's reasonable to call those routes of elaboration. This is not me doing the first route of elaboration, by the way. This is me genuinely telling you that I think that's reasonable. I won't worry about it.
Okay, fine. Right, let's unwind this particular route of elaboration and go back to the crossroads. So what were we talking about? So yes, I think the thing you had just said is that, you know, okay, I think we're agreed that there is a basically obligatory response of like, I'm sorry to hear that, hope you're okay, whatever, which just is just social etiquette and you just have to do it. And then there's like there's a bunch of options you have of like how you want to carry on the conversation. One of those options is to try and sort of convince the other person that these mean comments in this instance are actually wrong, and like, oh, there's also really good comments, and the mean comments are wrong because you're actually a great person, all this kind of stuff. That's one route. And you said you typically don't go down that route yourself with friends.
Correct.
Why not?
I typically go down the routes. I mean, it depends on the context. The first, the primary route of elaboration is very easy and very like non-socially threatening, and it's like a pretty normal / normie thing to say. And so if I'm in an environment where, let's say there's like a group of 10 people who I don't know particularly well, at that point I'm not going to put on my I don't know, Freudian hat and start sort of psychoanalyzing the person. Whereas if it's a more one-to-one situation, if you were to tell me that, for example, hey, I've had some mean comments on the internet, I would be like, oh, that's interesting. How did you feel about that? Which was kind of what you asked last time. As opposed to, oh, don't worry about it, mate. It's all good. Like, you're a great guy and your laugh is infectious and people think you're very attractive and handsome and stuff. I wouldn't go down that route.
But wait, wait,
I'd go
wait.
down I'd
You
go
think
down the how you feeling route.
you think the how you feeling route would be weird if it's like people you don't know as well?
Uh, how are you feeling then? With which would then be followed up with the why do you think you're feeling that way, or just trying to get to the bottom of really exploring the feeling and
Mm.
exploring like the thought process behind the feeling. Generally, not a. I mean, it doesn't work in 100% of social situations.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's interesting.
That was me being precise with my language. It does not work in 100% of social situations. You're like, there we go.
Sounds more like hedging to me, mate, but that's fine. Okay, so you don't. Okay, let's just give it a name. Let's call it the reassurance route, where you tell the person, oh, there's lots of good things about you, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
You don't personally go down the reassurance route in general, but it felt nice to you when the YouTube comments were along the reassurance route.
It felt nice in a way.
Or do you okay, basically, right. Do you have to say it felt nice? Because it would be a dick move on this podcast for you to say, "Oh man, all these people came out and supported me," but actually, I don't give a rat's ass. Like, are you obliged to say it felt nice? You can say yes. It still
There,
leaves room. There's still like 50-50,
there is
right?
an element of obligation here.
Okay.
Like when, uh, if someone, basically how celebrities are obligated to be very thankful to their fans for the things that their fans do.
Right.
This is something that Darren Brown interestingly explores in his book Happy, where he talks about how what it feels like to be a celebrity and to be someone famous, and how you can't really say anything against it because then you come across as a dick. And you have to
Yeah.
obviously, be acknowledge at every moment that your fans are the ones who got you there, and because you don't want to come across as a dick and you don't want them to not like you, and there's all this baggage associated with
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
this sort of stuff publicly.
Okay,
So there
right.
is an
So you
element
can't,
of that.
yeah, you can't talk about it publicly. So maybe I can throw my hat into the ring.
By all means, please do. And I will neither confirm nor deny the allegations.
If I were you,
Yeah.
and there would be comments about me on the internet, and we'd made that video or podcast, whatever you want to call it, and then in the comments, everyone was like, "Oh, Taimur, don't listen to the comments, don't listen to the haters. They're just jealous. You have all these nice qualities about you. I think you're great." Um, you know, if that was the response, not only would I not, not only would I not feel nice about it, I would actually feel okay. Like I wouldn't feel positively towards the response, but I also I wouldn't even feel neutral towards the response. I'd feel slightly negative towards the response. I would actively
Why is
not
that?
want that to be the response.
Why is that?
Um, I think I personally, and look, I think I'm from what I've seen from chatting to friends about this, I think I'm pretty weird in this regard, and I don't think you're quite as weird on this along this dimension. But I'm very sensitive to feeling sort of patronized or pitied or sort of condescended to. Like that is literally, I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. Like that is literally the worst thing imaginable to me. Like literally, the worst possible thing is for someone to pity me. And I think, yeah, I think I'm like so sensitive to that that yeah, I wouldn't want sort of anyone's pity really. Um, and I think that's also the reason why I never go down the reassurance route myself, because I don't I don't pity anyone, regardless of like the circumstance. I think it's like, and look, I think I'm being weird here by calling this pity. I
Yeah,
think there's
I
pro-
was
there I think there is a, yeah, I think there is a meaningful difference between like pity and like sympathy or something. There's like there's different things going on which are related, but I'm like so sensitive to the pity thing that I just like completely steer clear from it. Um,
It's very
and
self-aware.
so, sorry,
Surprisingly self-aware coming from you.
don't need these compliments. Don't pity me. Yeah, so I just like completely steer clear from it. And I think we talked about this a few weeks ago as well, where I thought like, have I given you the whole praise is problematic spiel?
Many times.
Many times. uh, yeah, I think praise comes into the same like realm of borderline pity. And so like
Whoa, hang on.
I don't want people's praise and I don't praise people. And
Right.
but I know it's weird
Let's
and I know
unpack
it's
this.
probably wrong.
Let's unpack
No,
this.
okay, let's not go down the praise angle. We can talk about that another day. Let's stick to like the sort of pity sympathy angle.
You
Like
can't just say that praising someone is equivalent to pitying them, therefore it's bad, and not
I look,
expect.
I'm putting my hands up. I'm saying, look, I'm probably wrong about this, but this is
Okay,
just how
fine.
I'm wired at the moment. All right, we can talk about praise another day, or maybe at the end of this podcast. But yeah, just on the sort of pity versus sympathy front, I think like I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. And if okay, here's the reason why the reassuring comments, would be there'd be a danger of me feeling pitied or felt sorry for.
Yep.
Are those interchangeable? Feeling sorry for someone and pitying them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I might feel sorry for you if a close family member died, but I wouldn't pity you if a close family member. Like pity implies some level of,
Some level of dehumanizing.
yeah, like you would pity a dog for,
Why?
like being like a
Dog's
mongrel on the
chilling.
street, be like, he doesn't have an owner and he's starving, and oh, put the poor dog, I pity them. You would also feel sorry for the dog, but the feeling sorry would it would come under pity. Whereas if, for example, I don't know, you applied to university and you didn't get into the one that you wanted, I feel sorry for you because I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that you didn't get what you wanted, but I wouldn't describe that as pity.
Okay, let's see what the dictionaries say about this. And like, I don't think we need to be slaves to the dictionary categories of things, by the way. I think like
Yeah, in this post-truth world that we live in, am I right?
exactly.
Who cares about what the actual definition of things is? What matters is how we feel about those definitions.
I think that is actually true in this in this case.
I know. That's like one of
All
those
right.
accidentally left-wing things.
Have you seen that Twitter account?
Yeah, it's so good.
It's really good.
Source of endless entertainment.
Accidentally left me.
What? So you're saying that that we should just abolish the military and like defund the police and then just let people do what they want? Well, yes. Anyway, dictionary.
On the topic of accidentally left wing, there was a tweet which was accidentally accidentally Christian. Um, let me find it. Oh my God, it was so funny. This is worth the diversion. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is the accidentally Christian tweet. Someone tweeted, "We should just pin all the debt in the world to one guy and then kill him." And then someone quoted that and said, "I'm a pastor, and pal, have I got some good news for you?"
I saw that. That was very good.
Oh my God, so funny. Uh, the joke is that Christians believe that Jesus was pinned to the cross and died for all of our sins. So it's very similar to what this guy is proposing, that we pin all the debt in the world to one guy and then just kill him.
Was that guy actually a pastor, or was it a banter?
No,
If he's actually a pastor, that's hilarious.
I think he's a pastor. All right, so how do we go on to that? Accidentally Christian, accidentally
The
leftist,
difference between pity and sympathy.
pity and sympathy. Ah, we were about to
You were
read some
looking at dictionary
dictionaries.
definitions.
Okay. Okay, pity, noun. A feeling of sadness or sympathy for someone else's unhappiness or difficult situation. Okay. To take pity on someone is to feel sorry for someone and to do something that shows this. We took pity on a couple of people waiting in the rain for a bus and gave them a lift. So,
Okay, here we go. I've got a pity versus sympathy, psychologytoday.com, the most reputable source on the topic. Pity is a feeling of discomfort at the distress of one or more sentient beings and often has paternalistic or condescending overtones. Sympathy is a feeling of care and concern for someone, often someone close, accompanied by a wish to see him better off or happier. So I think it's the paternalistic or condescending overtones that, at least I certainly feel which is why I would avoid saying I feel pity for something other than a dog on the street.
Dog on the street. What's wrong with the dog on the street, dude? Why is that such a sorry position to be in?
The poor thing. I take pity on that dog.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose. If it's hungry or something. Okay, look, I think we should. All right, let's look up sympathy. Look, basically, I don't think the dictionary definitions actually get at the meaningful difference. So I think we should go off-piste here a little bit.
I mean, yeah, Psychology Today article, which is all about the differences between pity and sympathy and empathy. I think that's broadly right. Like, pity equals sympathy plus some level of paternalism / condescension applied to it.
Okay, so the sympathy, according to a dictionary, is feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune.
Yeah.
Terribly helpful.
Yeah.
Sympathy is also understanding between people, common feeling. Okay, so I'd like to make a distinction between let's just say that the difference between let's say that the sympathy is kind of like. Okay, let's make a distinction between empathy, sympathy, and pity, where empathy is like sort of common feeling, seeing through the other person's eyes, kind of thing. And then sympathy is the kind of like feeling bad for someone's situation. Something like that. And pity is like sympathy plus like the patronizing sort of aspect of it or something.
Sure.
So basically, according to my definitions.
Reassuring comments show sympathy but not pity, whereas you seem to think that reassuring comments show pity, which is why you have such an adverse reaction to them.
Maybe sympathy is problematic. Have you ever considered that one? No, look. So, for example, if someone is ill, if like Sheen were unwell, what would you feel towards her? Nothing.
I mean, I was going to say this is a public forum, so you're putting me on the spot here. I would feel sympathy.
And what does that mean in that situation?
It feels like, oh, I'm sorry that she's unwell, and
would you feel bad that she is in the same way that I try and like sort of dumb down the feeling of pride to if you're proud of someone, you're happy that they're happy or something.
Yeah.
Would your sympathy for Sheen kind of mean that you're sad that she's sad?
I probably wouldn't actually be sad about it.
Yes. But in theory.
In theory, yeah. My sympathy for Sheen is that I'm sad that she's sad.
You're sad that she's sad. Okay. And with a dog on the street.
Yes.
You're sad that the dog is. I mean, you're assuming that the dog is sad.
Yes.
And you're sad that the dog is sad, but it's more than that. You also think something more, right?
Yeah,
about
something
towards the
more
dog.
to that, which comes on pity rather than sympathy.
So what is the dog? What is the other? Aside from feeling sad that the dog is sad, what else are you feeling towards the dog? That it's not a life worth living, something like that.
But I won't go quite as far as that. I wouldn't go up with that and be like,
you won't just run the poor thing over.
No, probably not. I wouldn't quite go down that route. My feeling of pity towards the dog on the street is, oh, I'm sad that dog is sad, and in a way, looking down on the dog for being in that situation.
Why would you look down on the dog? How is it the dog's fault, mate? What?
It's not the dog's fault, but it's like there's a level. Okay.
What do you mean looking down on the dog?
How do you describe paternalism in I have a paternal instinct towards the dog? which I do not have towards my housemate. And so
Is it about the
paternalism combined
paternal
with sympathy
instinct?
equals pity.
I don't think you have a paternal instinct towards the dog. I don't think that's the case. Like, okay, what do you mean by look down upon the dog for being in such a sorry situation? Is it just like a bit of an FU to the dog?
No, no, no. It's nothing against the dog. It's it's like I'm sad that you're sad and you are helpless. Therefore, I feel pity.
Right, you haven't told me what you mean by the looking down on them.
Okay,
All
yeah.
right, if someone is sad and helpless,
Re
why?
rewind the looking down at it. I think it's more the helpless thing that leads to pity. Like you can't help yourself, you dog. I'm so sorry. You know, I feel pity for you.
But what do you, all right, without using the word pity,
Yeah,
just tell
I feel
tell
sorry
me
for the
like
dog, and
so you're sad that
I'm
you're
sad.
sad that it's sad.
I'm okay. Let's give the dog a name. I'm sad that Bongo is sad,
Bongo.
and yeah, I'm sad that Bongo is sad, and I am also, and that sadness is exacerbated by the fact that Bongo cannot help himself. Those two things equals pity.
You're sad that it's sad, and you're sad that it's like fated to be sad forever
Yeah, for a while because it can't
for
help
some
itself
time.
for some time
That
until
just
like, a benevolent owner comes along and gives the dog some food.
oh, I think so. I puts it out of its misery.
Just runs it right over. Add a trigger warning to the start of this episode.
Little piece of trivia. Bongo is close to one of Hugh Grant's middle names. One of Hugh Grant's middle names is Mungo.
Right. Piece of trivia. Bongo also sounds like the instrument banjo, which is a guitar-like instrument that people play in countries in the world.
Right? 1-1.
Did you see that tweet? It was a really good tweet. I think it was yesterday or the day before, where if Warren Buffett had, whereas if Warren Buffett had invested his net worth into Bitcoin in 2009, he'll be worth like this many trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And then some dude commented saying, "If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle." I did that. Yeah, I lost it at that one.
Nice.
Going
Okay,
back-
look, no. I don't think you've really gotten down to the pity, right? Like you said, you're sad that the dog is sad,
Yep.
and you're also sad that the dog is helpless.
Correct.
That just sounds like it's sad that the dog is sad.
I mean, yeah, pity I think is on the same spectrum as sympathy, but I think it's the helplessness component that makes it pity.
Helplessness, really? Like,
I wouldn't when I said I looked down on the dog, there was something there.
yeah, I felt like there was some truth to that.
think
Like, I
I think
felt you
there's
look down on the dog in
there's
that moment.
something there like thinking that I am better than the dog. And maybe this ties into your issues with praise, where when you praise someone, it's like you're thinking in a way that you're better than them to have the something to praise, like this, something around that, like you're higher up in the hierarchy to be able to give them praise. I definitely feel like I'm higher up in whatever hierarchy we're looking at,
But the dog.
compared to the dog. Yeah,
And so you feel like you're in a position to cast judgment
yeah,
on
I
the
guess so.
dog's worth
I
or
guess
life
so.
or
I guess
something.
it's similar to, like, for example, if you go to like I don't know, a developing country and you see these kids playing on the street in rags and no shoes and stuff, it's very easy to have a pity response to that. And I think part of it is that, oh, I'm sorry they're in this situation, but in that context, a bigger part of it is I feel like I am in a position to pass judgment on them, and oh goodness, must not their lives be terrible, and that I think is the feeling of pity,
Yes, yeah.
and which is why I would almost never have a feeling for pity for someone that I know in real life, because I don't have that thing of oh goodness, must their life not be terrible? I'm in a position to cast judgment. Are there any contexts in which you would feel pity for someone or something that you have done recently? Even even if it was like a homeless man on the street, I wouldn't feel pity. I would feel sorry.
Feel sorry, i.e., you're sad that he's sad.
Yeah, but not pity, and then not like I'm in a position to cast judgment on down upon you.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it's okay to pity another human being, man.
Sure. Yeah,
I think it's like,
I'm on board with that.
yeah, I just think it's like really dehumanizing.
Yeah, it's okay to feel sorry, but the feeling of pity has that judgmental component, the looking down on them component.
I feel like I think sad that someone else is sad is acceptable.
Yeah, which is
But like
what
the
people mean
phrase
by
feeling,
feeling sorry.
I don't know, man. I think the phrase feeling sorry, I wouldn't want anyone to feel sorry for me.
Okay.
Like
The
that has pity to that sort of rhymes with pity.
That's
If
right.
so, if someone wants to be sad that I'm sad, it's regrettable, but I can, it wouldn't ruin my life. If someone feels sorry for me, that that would come close.
You might as well end it now.
Yeah. Just finish me off with a dog.
Um,
Yeah, let's not say. Let's look. I think the feeling sorry thing is actually problematic in the pity
I don't
camp.
know. I think feeling sorry is. I guess it depends what these words mean to us. In my head, when most people say, "I feel," oh, I'm
Look, I think these things are tricky because to an extent, like you can't try to make too much sense of words or language and stuff like that. And so we should just define our own stuff here. And I think like s- I think like sad that someone else is sad is one thing. Let's call that sympathy. I think just like feeling, look, I I accept that it doesn't make too much sense to read into like the specific words, but like feeling sorry for someone, it's sort of like there's an element of judgment in that like you know feeling sorry,
yeah.
like it's not cool basically.
So this is all a
So
very roundabout way of you saying that you don't want people to feel sorry for you, and so you think, going back to our original point, that when people are writing a reassuring, or when people are offering reassurance in
yeah,
any kind of capacity, that feeling sorry rather than sympathy, and feeling sorry is bad, therefore the reassurance is bad.
yeah, the reassurance kind of presumes that I need to be reassured, you know?
Um, I'm not sure that's feeling sorry or pity. I think that's just people people wanting to provide reassurance whether or not you need it. Like for example, if something bad happens to someone and I send them flowers, or Mimi cooks for them and gives them food, she's not saying that they actually need it. Like they have money in their account, they could order from Deliveroo or something. But it's just a nice gesture, and it's how society's. It's how we show that we care. Equally, reassurance for when when we offer reassurance, it's like a relatively easy way of showing that we care.
I'm all about the showing that we care.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
that's all the reassurance is, man. It's a nice thing. So you guys are watching this, please do provide reassuring comments. Uh, ignore Taimur. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, dude, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing is that I think it's nice when people can empathize with you, you know. If you're going through some kind of struggle and someone else truly understands that struggle, it's nice to feel that connection with them on that, you know, feeling like you're not alone, that kind of thing. Okay? And so I'm all for that. I'm all about that. And so like okay, so in the specific instance where I was catching up with some friends, the struggle that one of the friends had was that he'd recently been rejected by a girl. And yeah, that's something that everyone can sort of empathize with. And so
Well, not me. Continue.
and so, what I said was something along the lines of, "Damn, dude, that sucks." That's like, you know, That's really bad. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks real bad. Um, and I would appreciate it if someone said that to me, were I in that position. Okay. But then what this other friend did was take it a step further and be like, oh, just be patient. You'll find the right person. Blah blah
Mm.
blah. That kind of those platitudes.
Yes.
And I definitely would not want someone to say that to me
Mm.
because, yeah, I guess there's like categories of reassurance. There's reassurance which is like pure platitudes where, you know, just like completely generic platitudes like, there's plenty more fish in the sea, just be patient kind of thing, it'll happen, right? And then there's reassurance which comes from a place of sort of domain expertise,
Mm.
and I think both of those are very different, right? Do you agree with that?
Mm. Yeah. So, for example, if someone's like, "Oh, I've just had my first job interview and got rejected," oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah, it can be really tough. I mean, for the record, I had 85 job interviews before I got accepted. It's a normal part of life. That's like
Yeah.
a domain expertise reassurance on the realm of knowing what it's like to have job interviews and that it's pretty normal to get rejected from them.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh, don't worry, mate, just be yourself and I'm sure you'll find someone eventually is not at all helpful and pure platitude reassurance.
Yeah. So I think the pure platitude reassurance is what I find
Hmm.
what I really wouldn't want someone to say to me because let me unpack why.
Is it that you feel like they feel like you don't already know that and therefore the fact that they would have to say to you, don't worry, bro, you'll find someone, it feels as if they're sort of, it feels as if you're the dog on the street and they're sort of patting you on the head.
Yeah, yeah, they're presuming that I'm the dog on the street.
Hmm.
Exactly. Like, why would you presume that? You could also, you know,
Treat me as an intelligent being who's not an idiot.
yeah, it's like a sort of secure and autonomous person, and yeah, it feels bad to get rejected or whatever, but like, I wouldn't presume that it's sort of ruined my life or anything with that. Like, I'm questioning, big existential things as a result of it. Yeah, I think that's why I don't like. I think the generic platitudes often presume a lot, which I don't think is really the case. So like in your okay, like in the mean comments example, I mean the thing you were claiming on the when we talked about it was that you don't actually care too much about the mean comments.
Hmm.
And so then like when everyone's like, "Oh, Ollie, don't feel bad, blah blah blah." Like if
I
you
think
truly
that
actually didn't care about the mean comments, surely you'd be a bit annoyed by that. Like, screw you, man. Why are you assuming that I feel so terrible about the mean comments?
okay, no, I wouldn't feel that way at all. Firstly, I think if it was reading a mean comment and me being like, "Cool, I actually don't care," then I don't think many people would have felt compelled to make reassuring comments. But because that whole final 15 minutes where you were pointing out that, hey, your eyes seem a little bit moister and your voice has definitely changed, and are you sure you don't feel bad about this? Go on,
Yeah.
you really feel bad about it. Go on, say it. That
Yeah.
because you were doing that, and I was like, oh my god, maybe I do feel bad. At that point, people feel compelled to reassure that, oh, don't worry. And maybe there is a feeling of people thinking I'm the dog on the street in that situation where they want to pat me on the head.
Did you
I
feel at
think
all like the dog on the street?
no, I didn't feel at all like the dog on the street. But I think that's I don't have such a strong. If someone feels sorry for me, like I don't care. Whereas you would be like, it's literally the end of the world if someone feels
Yes.
sorry for you.
Yes.
Equally, like it's been interesting with Sheen for the last couple of weeks because she keeps on. Like I'd be sitting on the sofa staring into space, and she'd be like, "Ali, what's wrong?" And I'd be like, "What?" She'd be like, "You've got that kind of, you've got the bichara look on your face."
Okay. Yeah.
For context, bichara means like helpless, poor helpless type thing in Urdu. She's like, "Why do you
Right.
have your bichara face on?" Be like, "Ali, you've got the bichara face on again. What's going on?"
Yeah.
And I think that's and she's we've sort of unpacked her feelings on this, and she's felt that, oh, what she says is, I can just feel you giving off kind of the fact that you're sad, and that makes me want to kind of like tell you that it's all okay. That kind of thing.
Oh, nightmare.
Exactly.
Tell you that it's all okay. That sound generic platitudes.
Yeah. But that's fine. I don't mind it. I feel like you would mind it.
Yeah, I'd mind it. Yeah, I would mind it. Yeah.
Great. Well,
Wait.
thanks for
So,
listening.
I mean, so why don't you? I mean, it seems like you're on board with the reassuring thing. You don't think it's problematic. Like, why don't you do it then, big man?
The reassuring thing. Hmm.
If you haven't got a problem with it, why don't you do it to other people?
I do if it's domain expertise. I don't do it if it's not non-domain expertise.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I also don't think it's particularly useful. Like if someone, which, I wouldn't say to a comment, oh mate, don't worry, there's plenty of fish in the sea. But I would say something like, mate, you know what they say, you got to get, if you want to get over someone, you got to get under someone else, which is like domain expertise.
Right.
Also, I like to think.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to see how people respond to these things. So just to be clear, you didn't feel at all sort of condescended to
No,
by these
absolutely
reassuring
not.
comments.
I felt, I
Really?
felt, I felt like
It's
net
so
positive was not
condescending, dude.
seeing
They're
those
so
comments in points.
condescending.
Is
How
it?
can you not see that they're condescending?
It's not
Let's
condescending,
read
man.
out, let's read out some of these comments.
Sure, by all means. Read out some of them and I'll tell you how condescended I felt. Most of them were quite nice. I was like, oh, this is nice.
All right, here we go. Just give me a moment. I will find a condescending comment.
How many are you scrolling past that aren't condescending?
I mean, I would interpret all of them as condescending. No, I mean,
Wonderful.
I'm sort of joking. Um,
For the record, I like getting nice comments. It makes me feel good. So please keep on doing it, you guys. For the record, Taimur doesn't like nice comments. So when you want to tell him he's particularly funny, don't do that because he'll feel like, oh, why do
no,
you
no,
feel the need
that's
to
no,
come
no. Okay, no. Okay, look, we're getting into the praise angle, and look, we'll talk about this on another podcast. But essentially, certain things in life are group projects where praise is acceptable, and being funny is a group project where the purpose of being funny is for other people to find you funny, for other people to laugh at your jokes. And so praise in the realm of like being funny is perfectly fine. And so if you do think I'm funny, I would love to know that.
Wow.
uh, all right, so this person says, okay, basically he's sort of trying to sort of attacking the general concept of like people having hate threads on the internet. He just says, don't understand the hate part of the internet. If you don't like something, then simply leave. Why make someone feel bad and waste your time when you have the liberty of doing something better with your time? Anyway, Ali, ignore them. Wow.
What's wrong with that?
What? He's telling you to ignore them.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
That one makes me feel neutral because there's nothing particularly nice in there. It's not like, oh, Ollie, you've actually changed my life and I love you, which is the stuff that makes me feel nice. It's giving me
It's
advice
so
on something.
it's so paternalistic. Ignore them, Ali.
It's fine.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you cannot publicly say
No, like
that.
I would say if it made me feel anything less than like sort of anything less than neutral about it, it makes me feel completely neutral because I couldn't care less if someone is giving me unsolicited advice. And I appreciate kind of the sentiment where it comes from. The place it's coming from is that this person is, is saying that it's really bad that these people out there exist. Go on, Ali, like ignore them, don't let them affect you. It's nice. Yes, it's unsolicited advice, but like whatever. Sounds like you have an issue with unsolicited advice.
Yeah, I do.
And in a way, like
Correct.
YouTube comments thread is not it's not even unsolicited. It's like you know, we posted a video on our podcast called Ollie Tries to React to Mean Comments, where I'm publicly saying that, oh, these comments make me feel a modicum of something. And you're being like, go on, admit that it makes you feel bad. Well, hey, you're fine now. Hey, your voice has changed. That's what you're saying. That's not. It would not be
Oh,
argued in a court of law that this is not soliciting some level of commenting.
and I obviously don't object to all commentary. Like, obviously not.
I think, yeah.
Like we said, there's lots of routes of elaboration.
So I think that's the difference between you and me on this front, which is that I feel neutral, if not neutral towards positive about comments like that, whereas you feel definitely negative about comments like that.
Yeah, I guess I just find generic platitude type reassurance to be quite patronizing.
Mm.
It is patronizing, dude.
I don't
It
think
is
so.
so patronizing.
Patronizing is how you interpret it rather than what the other person said. I don't interpret a comment saying ignore the haters or, as being a patronizing comment. You might. I don't know why you would, but sure. Just like I wouldn't interpret a comment saying keep it up as being a patronizing comment. That you might be like, oh, keep it up. What is he telling me? Like, what's the assumption behind that question? Why are they telling me I need to keep it up? Like, as if I'm not going to do that anyway. Screw you. I wouldn't respond like that. Call me old-fashioned, but I love that phrase. That's so good.
Yeah, yeah, it's really
It
good.
works in so many different contexts.
Yeah.
I think I first realized its funniness when I heard Adrian say it.
Oh, really?
Call me old-fashioned, but I don't believe that. It's just so funny.
Yeah. Adrian's a French friend of ours. It's just funny hearing Adrian use like English idioms in general. Okay, fine. I think, yeah, maybe I'm just weird.
It's like with on Would I Lie to You when
Henning.
says,
Henning, yeah.
oh, it's like when you're in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny to hear the German accent say in for a penny, in for a pound. That's a really good reference.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that you know that reference.
That's condescending.
That was intentionally condescending. Good stuff. All right, fine. Look, I'm happy to accept that I'm weird on this front, but look, I don't think I'm completely off base here. I think there is something to what I am saying.
All right.
But I think I take it
the
too far.
commenters on YouTube. Now that we've got these on YouTube, you can leave comments. Don't worry about condescending Taimur, he's weird, but would love to know what you guys think on this pity versus sympathy front. Is it condescending to leave a comment on someone's YouTube video reassuring them to ignore the haters? I personally don't think it is. I think it's quite nice, so please keep doing it. And yeah, keep telling Taimur that he's funny.
Okay, so moving on from that stuff, there was another interesting line of commentary.
Okay, hang on.
I think
We've been recording for 1 hour and 6 minutes already.
No, this is brief. This is brief.
Okay,
this is
fine.
brief.
Sure.
Mate, what the hell? Are you not enjoying this conversation?
No, I am. It's good. But I think, I'm also mindful of the audience.
Do you pity
Here.
me?
I'm pitying you, yeah.
Mate, the audience are fine with it. The audience can leave if they're bored. All right. I thought the other interesting thread of commentary about the thing was that I think there were a couple of people who were interpreting me as being like kind or something like that, and I'm not really sure what they were getting at there. I don't know what was especially kind about that, and then there were some people interpreting it as unkind. I think there were a couple of people on the thread saying that
On the thread.
it's like
and
on the tattle thread.
Oh, yeah.
I think there were one or two comments saying like, basically kind of implying that if you're not a professional therapist or something, you should literally not have these conversations with people. And like it's not like nice to it's not like nice or okay to, push someone, about their feelings and stuff on a podcast or something like that. And like, clearly Ollie has some issues here, and like I don't think it's kind to like talk about this on a podcast and keep like pushing him on it when it obviously like makes him uncomfortable or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was an interesting sort of angle. What's your take on it before I tell you my take? Before I bring my
I
take
would,
down from the mountain.
I would agree that it probably wouldn't come under the traditional definitions of kind, and you'd have to justify it as you have to be cruel to be kind, and I'm for that to be interpreted as kind, it has to be like I'm kind of doing this for your own good, and I want you to encourage, I want you to face your feelings, and ultimately this is a kindness that I'm offering to you. I think I've had it with a few friends where, with most of my friends, they're cool with me pushing them on how they feel about stuff and challenging their feelings to the point where they become uncomfortable. With some, they're not, and I think you and I both
Yeah.
have friends who are in that position. I think so in that context, if it's the sort of person who's not used to / and not comfortable with their feelings on some stuff being challenged, they might think that no one should ever challenge people's feelings on anything, unless they're an official therapist and they've been paid to do so.
Yeah.
I'm not in that particular viewpoint, but I get that some people are, and that's cool. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think people have different thresholds. Like I think I have a good sense for where you stand on this and how okay you would be being like grilled on this. And obviously, like, we record these podcasts beforehand. If we truly get into some weird territory that either of us doesn't want to put on the internet, obviously we wouldn't put it on the internet, right? Like, we've definitely edited things out of the podcast before. Um, yeah, I think people have different thresholds, but in general, I'm starting to notice a bit of like an over pathologizing of things when it comes to the realm of mental health. And look, I'm going to have to caveat this by saying, look, I think mental health is very important. I think, therapists are very useful. I've had a therapist in the past myself, like absolutely nothing against that. But I am starting to notice this like slightly dangerous discourse where basically the only way you can solve your problems is by going to a professional. And I think we'd be really missing out if trusted friends cannot, don't feel like they can actually have these conversations with their friends. Like that's really bad. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think
Yes, 100%. I'm on board.
I think there is a general bias too far in the direction of like, oh, if you're not a qualified therapist, you shouldn't try and like have these conversations with your friends and stuff. They need to get a therapist. Like, I think having too, you know, going too hard on that side of things is bad and weird. Um, and I think in general, like, I feel like in general, I wish my friends would push me on more things. I get the sense that your friends don't particularly push you on a lot of things. Like they probably all just like take your stoicism bit at face value. Uh, although actually, like, I don't know. Like Sheen said, she doesn't really buy it. I don't know if she's
Sheen doesn't push me on stuff.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Most of my friends don't push me on things. It takes a certain level of being a certain level of callousness almost to be comfortable with pushing someone to the point where they're uncomfortable.
callousness is the wrong way to put it. Callousness is is like
Sure.
a misleading way to put
It's a
it.
certain sense of callousness, somewhat. But you
You
get what
can't
I'm
just.
getting at, right?
Sorry.
But you get what I'm getting at. Like someone like Sheen, who's like very warm, very caring, very empathetic, is not going to be comfortable pushing someone to the point where they become uncomfortable in talking about something, whereas you and I probably would be. And there is a difference there in terms of temperament and in terms of I think in terms of just being a generally kind person, I don't think it's particularly kind to push someone beyond the point where they're comfortable. You and I still do it anyway with the friends with our friends who we know can quote take it. But if we were kinder and if our operating maxim was more based around kindness, we probably wouldn't do that even with those friends.
I don't know, dude. I think there's like short-term kindness and long-term kindness. I think, and I think there's like this narrative around. Yeah, there's like a weird narrative these days where making someone uncomfortable is like the highest cardinal sin, right? And look, in you know probably
Sounds
the vast majority of
accidentally
instances, sorry, accidentally
accidentally
right
right
wing.
wing.
Look, in the vast majority of instances, it is not a good idea to make someone uncomfortable.
Sure.
I think the exceptions are when it's a group, when it is among trusted friends, and I think there is a duty among trusted friends to do that kind of thing, to help each other in that way,
Mm,
rather than sort of optimizing for short-term kindness of like, oh, I'm just gonna like always be supportive or like, whatever.
sure. That's fine.
Anyway, yeah,
I can probably get on board with that, but you can see why people would label it as unkind, or at least not as kind as someone who recognizes that, oh, this is making this person uncomfortable. This is a public podcast recording. You know what? Let's take a step back and maybe we can talk about it over once in a few days' time. Like that would be another way to approach it. And you and I know that obviously we can cut out whatever the hell we want from these podcast episodes, but people watching it might feel as if this is like, oh, was Ali really okay with doing that? The answer is well, yes, which is why it's on the internet. But
yeah.
you
Look,
someone wouldn't put those different points together and have all the context and then describe this as being kind.
yeah, but the point I wanted to make was this sort of strange bias towards like only if you are a professional therapist should you
Oh
be
yeah,
having these
I think that's
conversations
weird
with
and stupid,
people.
obviously.
Yeah, yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to kind
Oh,
of
great. Yeah,
draw attention to there.
broadly agreed on that front. It's weird and stupid, uh, with all the caveats that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was basically another interesting angle of
How do you feel
of
about the fact
response.
that you were described as unkind by people on this thread?
Sorry,
You heard me.
I did actually hear you. Why did I say sorry?
Well, you often
Where's
do
the
that
fight?
when I ask you an potentially uncomfortable question. For the last like 4 weeks, you've done this where you've said sorry, and I've repeated myself, and I've
You're
known that
right. I
you're
do
joking,
that.
but I haven't
Yeah.
called you out on it.
Yeah, I think it's to buy thinking time. Like,
Because you want to be like immediately.
am I gonna answer truthfully or not? I was annoyed by that comment. I'll be honest. I was annoyed by that comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Annoyed as in because it fed into this narrative of only
Yeah.
licensed professionals have any right to talk to someone about their feelings.
Yeah. I thought it was inaccurate and stupid, and I was annoyed by it, if I'm
Okay.
honest with you.
Did you feel bad about it? Did
I
you
didn't
feel a
feel
sense
bad
of
about it.
Did you feel a sense of, oh, maybe these guys are right, maybe I shouldn't have pushed Ollie so hard on?
No. If I felt that, I would have felt bad about it.
Okay,
But I felt annoyed about it.
nice. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we should read out a review.
Let's do it. You want to go for it? By the way, guys, if you're watching this on the YouTube, then you might want to subscribe to it on the Spotify or the iTunes or wherever you actually listen to podcasts, because then you'll get the new episodes automatically downloaded straight to your phone. Or feel free to subscribe to the channel on YouTube itself, and maybe the algorithm will notify you when there's a new episode. But hit that notification bell for that to be the case regardless, or something. I'm now on day 11 of my freestyle rap challenge, and
Oh yeah. How's it going? What's the
it's
challenge?
actually really fun. I had like 2 coaching sessions yesterday. Uh, it's good.
Where does
Sheena's
one
really
find a
annoyed
fr-
by it.
where does one find a freestyle rap coach?
Um, so there's this company called Ultra Speaking that's run by these 2 guys called Michael and Tristan, who I did a live stream with a few months ago, and I've been doing one of their public speaking courses. And I mentioned to one of them that I wanted to learn freestyle rap, and he'd actually been doing freestyle rap for like 8 years. So he was like, "Oh, I'd love to help you out and help you along
Oh,
your
nice.
journey." Then he's mates with some other guy who's like a professional freestyle rap coach. who runs a company called Flow Fam, where they help people get into flow. So he and I had a session yesterday to unlock our emotions and stuff and get into flow, and it was really good.
Are there any sort of brief techniques you can describe for other budding freestyle rappers?
Um, the main rule is that you're not allowed to stop. You have to just keep on going.
Okay.
And that's like the single hardest thing, because if, for example, you were to try to freestyle rap right now, you'd feel an element of like self-consciousness, and you would just kind of stop because
Yeah.
your sort of
You
brain
feel
would think,
cringe. Yeah.
yeah. So you have to kind of get over your cringe response. The other thing you can absolutely do is called patterning, which is where you might be like, my name's Ali and I'm a freestyle rapper and then bada da bada bada boom attacker and da da da
Oh,
bum
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
going back to bum bada da, where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're totally okay with doing that,
Yeah.
which again
That's
requires
good.
you to get over the cringe response, and that doing that kind of thing helps you in keeping the flow and
Right, right, right. Yeah.
keeping
That's
going.
sick. That's a great technique.
I'm glad you like it. Um, like the dream that I want to get to is where have you seen those freestyle rap performances where they ask the audience to throw out random words and
Yeah, yeah,
they'll
yeah.
string it together in like a really sick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So Michael and I were practicing some of that yesterday. There's this like on their ultra speaking website, they've got this simulator. It's designed for public speaking. It's called Triple Step, where it gives you a timer and it gives you a speech title like, I don't know, what's in your refrigerator, and you have to make up a speech. But then every sort of 10 seconds, a new word comes up, and you have to incorporate the word into your speech.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
there's a similar one called blind slideshow, where you get a slide, you have to give a speech about a topic, and you get random slides coming up with random images from Unsplash, and you have to incorporate those into your speech.
That's
So we
cool.
were doing that yesterday with the freestyle rap, and it's kind of build a story around it, and then you see an image of a guy with a bandana, and you're like, and then my man's wearing a bandana, and he's ba-da-da-dum, he's a spanner, and then why
Yeah.
did I just say that? I don't know, but I just gotta stay in the flow. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Nice.
It's like really,
That's
really,
sick.
really fun. And like Michael is so sick. Like there were just moments where I was just like, how the hell did you do that? He was like, oh,
Yeah.
take practice, man.
Do you have to deal with an American accent?
Um, the only raps I've really heard are sort of I think the American accent makes it easier to emphasize things, and
Okay.
in freestyle rap,
It's more flowing in general.
yeah, but like in freestyle rap, it's like the rhymes aren't real rhymes. It's like if I was rhyming um Model 3, like the only thing my rhyme has to rhyme with is the sound e
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
e,
Probably. Yeah, yeah.
probably destiny, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and that kind of stuff is much easier to emphasize in a sort of American style
Yeah.
where you can elongate
Yeah.
vowels and you won't go wild.
Yeah. Yeah, probably just sounds stupid.
I think the way that guy Munchie whatever his name is, Unknown P.
Manya, Manya Chihuahua or something.
Manya
Yeah,
Chao.
yeah, unknown P. Yeah, yeah, love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sometimes try and rap in his unknown. My name is Bo and I'm unknown P and I've got my pheasant and a can of beer.
Yeah.
But it's a lot harder than because most of the stuff you hear
Yeah.
is American, so you find yourself imitating the American style.
Yeah, fair. Okay, nice. That's pretty interesting. All right, here's a review. This is entitled The Evolution of This Podcast and Why I Love It from Saksham Dwivedi in India. They say Taimur and Ali are amazing thinkers with interesting things going on in their lives. The last episode went really in depth with Taimur's causal spiel, but hey, I liked it. The podcast at its budding stage was really different. Unique topics and a few book reviews added to the mix. Now it's more of behind the scenes of Ali's and Tame's life mixed with unique topics as before, which kind of bonds the YouTube audience in a bit more, I think. I'd love to see a second episode with Sheen. Uh, yeah, and there's a recommendation for another book. Cool, yeah, thanks Saksham for the review.
That's very cool. Alrighty. What's happening with our community thing? Are we opening it up or what?
Yeah, so I actually thought we'd closed off signups like, I don't know, a month ago or something. But there's actually no way for me to just close off I mean, there's no easy way for me to close off new signups while also keeping the existing ones. And so signups have actually been open, and folks have actually just been signing up. And every day or two, I try and go through the new signups and add them to the Slack group. So if you have signed up for the sort of the paid members community for Not Overthinking, and you haven't received an invite to the Slack group, then definitely drop me an email at hi@notoverthinking.com. A few people have actually emailed in saying like, "Hey man, I signed up. Like, where's the invite?" So sorry for the delay on some of those.
We definitely need an automated way of doing this.
Yeah, we're in the process of setting up like an automated email thing where you get an email with a sort of link and stuff. And yeah, we're doing sort of like a weekly-ish members Zoom call. We have one in 55 minutes where we just kind of hang out. So yeah, we just start off by talking about the latest episode. I think there'll be lots of interesting stuff from the last one. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then yeah, just end up chatting, and people stick around for as long as they want. I usually stay for an hour or two. I think a couple of weeks ago I left after like a couple of hours or something, but like 5 hours later, a few people were still like hanging out and chatting. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Cool. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
That's it for this week. Thank you for listening.
If you like this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on the Apple Podcasts website if you're not using an iPhone. There's a link in the show notes.
If you've got any thoughts on this episode or any ideas for new podcast topics, we'd love to get an audio message from you with your conundrum, question, or just anything that we could discuss.
Yeah, if you're up for having your voice played on the podcast and your question being the springboard for our discussion, email us an audio file MP3 or voice note to hi@notoverthinking.com.
If you've got thoughts but you'd rather not have your voice played publicly, that's fine as well. Tweet or DM us at @noverthinking on Twitter, please.